Everybody, we are working on subtracting integers today. If you're in class, you're doing this note sheet with us. I am going to upload it on Google Classroom, so if you want to print it, you can. Or you could just follow along on a loose leaf piece of paper or whiteboard. So we're going to be focusing on subtraction. So the first three we're going to look at are three that you've been doing probably your whole educational career. But we're going to look at it a slightly different way to get us thinking about the other types of problems we're going to look at today. So let's take a look at our first one. So our first one says 5 take away 4. Okay, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I know you've done this before. We're just going to practice the modeling part and then our last column which says add the opposite, just so you get the hang of it. So if I model 5 take away 4, I'm going to start with 5 positive tiles. So now if you were in class today, we did red and yellow. It's the same kind of idea. Yellow is our positive. I'm just going to draw a little positive sign to show 5 positives. So there's my 5 positives. Now the question's saying 5 take away 4. So can we take away 4 from what's there? Well, sure we can, right? So I'm going to take away, I'm going to circle those 4 and show that I'm taking them away, and what's left? 1. Okay. So probably you knew 30 seconds ago 5 minus 4 is 1. Again, I'm keeping the numbers small just for the sake of drawing them as well. Well, there's an idea called adding the opposite. That means that you're taking your subtraction expression and you're keeping the first number the same, and instead of subtraction, we're going to change it to adding the opposite. So our subtraction sign becomes a plus sign, and this positive 4 becomes a negative 4. Now, we've been doing adding integers this whole past week, actually for 3 lessons, and you know 5 plus a negative 4 is 1. Do you see how we got the same answer? So it's just another way to write 5 take away 4. You can write as 5 plus a negative 4. So that's what this top part is thinking about subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. That's going to be a really important skill. We're starting off easy. Let's start with 8 take away 4. So again, I'm going to start with 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can we take away 4? Yep, there's 4 there. We're going to circle those 4, take them away. What's left? What's remaining? 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. And then can I write it as adding the opposite? So I'm going to start with my 8, change my subtraction to adding. And then what's the opposite of positive 4? Negative 4. And this past week we talked about 8 plus a negative 4. Well, if I have 8 and I spend 4, I have 4 left. Again, same answer. Because remember, this is 8 take away a positive 4, right? I took away positive 4. Let's take a look at our last example. We've got 9 take away 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then can I take away 2 positives? Sure, they're there. I can take them away. Circle them, take them away. Let's see what's left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I rewrite my expression as adding the opposite? Keep my first number 9, change subtraction to addition. What's the opposite of positive 2? Negative 2. And that, again, gives us a 7. Okay, so that's just taking what we already know and looking at it in a slightly different way. So instead of just saying it's a straight subtraction problem, you can think about it as the adding integers that we just worked on. That's going to really help you on this next section. All right? So I'm going to erase my screen, and I'm going to slide it up, and we're going to look at what happens when we're subtracting integers, because they won't always both be positive and have the greater number first. Sometimes we're going to have some examples where we've got a positive take away a negative. Okay, so these look very different than the ones we had on the top. That's why we started with the easy example, so you'd understand about the tiles and rewriting. So let's see if we can model this. So again, we're starting with 3 positives, and they want to know, can we take away 2 negatives? Well, there are not 2 negatives there to take away, right? Now, some of you might already know the answer to this because you've done it on iReady, and that's great. But some of you, this is the first time you're seeing it. I'm looking to take away 2 negatives. There are no negatives here to take away. So we're going to use that idea of 0 pairs that we talked about. We talked about a positive and a negative make 0. So even though I've added in a 0 pair, right? Can I take away 2 negatives? Well, I've got 1 negative here I could take away. So I'm going to bring in another 0 pair. Can I take away 2 negatives now? Yeah, I've got 2 negatives here. So if I circle those and take them away, then I've just got to look and see what's left. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. So in this case, 3 take away a negative 2 gives me a positive 5. So let's take that expression, 3 minus a negative 2, and practice it using adding the opposite. So eventually you won't want to draw tiles, you'll want to use this method. We keep the first number the same. Remember we changed subtraction to? You got it, addition. And then the opposite. What's the opposite of negative 2? You got it, positive 2. So now we've taken what looks like a complicated subtraction question and made it into a very simple addition question. So 3 plus 2 gives you 5, which is what we arrived at with our models. All right, so we're going to spend time looking at these examples. All right, so let's take a look at 2 take away a negative 1. So again, we're going to start with 2 positives. Is there a negative 1 to take away? There's no negatives, right? So I need to bring in a 0 pair. Can I take away a negative now? Sure. I'm going to take away that negative, and then I'm going to look to see how many positives do I have left. 1, 2, 3. So my answer is going to be positive 3. So now let's rewrite that expression over here. 2 take away a negative 1. So we're going to use that idea of adding the opposite. So my 2 stays the same, my subtraction becomes addition, and my negative 1, what's the opposite of negative 1? Positive 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, so if you think you know what to do, and you've seen these 2 examples, and you think, I got it, I want you to try those 3 examples that are in the table. Pause this video, try the examples, and then kind of fast forward to the end of the table so you can check your answers. If you're really not sure, I want you to just kind of follow along with me. So this video is going to be a little bit longer, that's okay, but I want to make sure everyone gets what they need. So the next example is 4 minus a negative 2. So we're starting with 4 positives. Can I take away 2 negatives? Again, we only have positives here. There's nothing to take away. We have to bring in our 0 pairs. And I have to bring in 2 0 pairs because I want to take away 2 negatives. So if I circle my 2 negatives, take them away, then I've got to count up how many of my positives are left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 positives. And then again, we want to rewrite that expression, 4 minus a negative 2. We want to rewrite it as subtraction becomes addition, and the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So hopefully you're kind of seeing that every time you see this double negative here, so it's a subtraction sign and a negative sign together, that means to really do what? That means to add, right? Let's take a look at our next one. 2 plus a negative 1. So I don't have a negative 1 to take away, so I'm already starting to bring in a 0 pair. Now I can go ahead and I can take away my negative, and then I can go ahead and count how many positives I have. 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 positives left. And I've got 2 take away a negative 1, keep the 2. Remember, change subtraction to what? Addition. Change my negative 1 to the opposite of positive 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. That's what we got when we did our model. All right, last one. Starting with a positive 1. Can I take away 5 negatives? So it's 1 take away negative 5. Well, I definitely don't have anything. I don't even have 5 positives to take away. So I've got to bring in a 0 pair. Did I bring in enough? Because before that was enough, right? Well, I need 5 negatives, so I've got to bring in 5 0 pairs, right? So I'm going to circle my 5 negatives. We're going to take them away. And then I've got to count up how many positives I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And we want to go ahead and we want to rewrite it. 1 minus a negative 5. Subtraction becomes addition. Negative 5, the opposite is positive 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 here, and we got 6 with our model. All right, so if you pause the video, hopefully you came back in and you were able to check your answers. Hopefully you're starting to catch on. At this point, you are going to pause the video. You are going to try the first quizzes that's labeled on there, and it's on this whole type of subtraction where you got a positive minus a negative. All right? Then you're going to come back, okay, and we're going to do 2-word problems together. So again, pause the video, go try the quizzes that's labeled. I put in the numbers so you know which one to try. Just make sure you read the directions and then come back, okay? All right, so let's take a look at these word problems. So number 2, well, 1 and 2. I'm going to zoom it out a little so you can see them all. There we go. Okay, so we've got a scientist measured the temperature at the surface of a snowbank, and it says the temperature was negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm so glad we don't have snow right now. At ground level, the temperature was 25 degrees Fahrenheit. How much warmer was the temperature at ground level? All right, so again, sometimes it is helpful to draw a picture. So we've got a snowbank, right? And it says the temperature at the surface of the snowbank, so maybe up here, was negative 23. And then it says at ground level, the temperature was 25. So down here it was 25 degrees. So we're kind of measuring from here to here, right? How much warmer was it at ground level? So remember, the ground kind of maintains heat, right? Because it's underground. Think about all the animals that burrow underground. So we want to know, if I'm going from negative 23 to 25, how far is that apart? Well, I need to think about it like on a number line. I think that would be really helpful. So let's take our number line. So I'm going to put my 25 on here. And I could go ahead and put in other markers, and that's okay if you want to, you can. I'm not going to. We don't have a lot of time. I don't want to make this video an hour long, right? So I'm going from a positive number of 25 all the way to a negative number of 23. There's 2 ways to do this, okay? So at this point, if you think you know what to do, I want you to pause the video, try it, and then press play to see if I picked the same way that you're going to do it. Because there's 2 great ways to do this. All right, so if you paused it, one way to do it is to use absolute value. Because we're going from a warm temperature through 0 all the way to a negative temperature, right? Positive to 0 to negative. So I could take the absolute value of negative 23 and add it to the absolute value of 25. That would be one way to solve this question. So that would give me 23 plus 25, and that gives me 48. So it would be 48 degrees warmer at ground level. Now, there's still another way to do it, okay? So let's say I know I want to take my warmer temperature, and how much warmer normally means to subtract. So you normally want to take your larger number and subtract your smaller number. Well, we just did a whole bunch of questions like this, right, where we had that double negative together. So I want to rewrite it. So I'm going to keep my 25 there, change my subtraction to addition, and what's the opposite of negative 25? Positive 25. So 25, or well, if you were here, you could have corrected me, but you weren't here, and that's okay. This should be 23. See, even teachers make mistakes sometimes. 23 plus 23 gives me 48. So I got the same answer here. Okay? It's a good way to check your work, right? Sometimes we just get caught up in the math. So again, you can use absolute value, or you can use subtraction. I like using the number line to kind of help me out and think about what's my process, how far is it going to be. Some kids will say 2. It's only 2 degrees apart. Well, it definitely can't be 2, because if I'm at 25 and I just go 2, I'm definitely not making it all the way down to negative 23. So our answer for that should have been 48. Number 2, the temperature in Syracuse was negative 8 degrees Fahrenheit on January 28th and 7 degrees Fahrenheit on January 29th. How many degrees warmer was it on the 29th than the 28th? So again, I'm going to use a number line to kind of help me, and as I reread it, I'm going to label it. So this says the temperature in Syracuse was negative 8 degrees Fahrenheit on the 28th. So I know my negatives go to the left. So this is 128. And then it says it was 7 degrees on the 29th. So 7 degrees on the 29th. How many degrees warmer was it on the 29th than the 28th? So again, take a second, pause this video if you think you know what to do, and then we'll come back together. All right, so here's what I'm hoping that you tried. I'm hoping that you took your positive number, right, if you want to know how much warmer it is, and subtracted out your smaller number. Okay, that's one way to do it. It might not have been the way you did it, and that's okay, but this is one way. So we know we keep the 7, change subtraction to addition, negative 8 becomes a positive 8, and that gives us 15. So that's one way to do it. Another way could have been that using absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 8 plus the absolute value of 7. Remember, 7 is 7 away from 0. Negative 8 is 8 away from 0. That gives us 15. So we got 15 for both answers. All right. Hopefully you're feeling pretty good about this topic. All right, I'm going to flip to the back. This is the second section we're working through. So looking at some examples where when we have a positive minus a positive, but we're taking away more than we have. So this is going to be a second section that we're looking at. Again, we're doing models. So if you find that you know what to do and you need to fast forward through this part, that's fine. It's just I'm putting it here for everyone because not everyone has seen this. So if I start with 2, again, I'm going to start with my models. I've got 2, and I want to take away 3. Now that 3 is positive. Well, I can almost take away 3, right? I don't have quite enough. So again, I got to bring in that 0 pair. Now can I take away 3? Sure we can. Circle that 3, take it away. What's left? I've got a negative 1 left. Okay, so again, we're going to rewrite it as adding the opposites. So we're going to take our 2, take away 3, and we're going to rewrite it. I'm going to keep my 2. My subtraction becomes addition. And what's the opposite of positive 3? Negative 3. Okay, so again, we just spent the last couple days doing adding integers. You know when you have different signs, subtract them. Take the sign of the number there are more of. So negative 1 and negative 1, we got the same answer. Let's take a look at our next one. 1, take away 2. So again, I'm keeping the numbers small. I've got 1. Can I take away 2? Nope, got to bring in a 0 pair. Can I take away 2 now? Sure we can. Circle it, take it away. What's left? 1 negative. Can I rewrite it? Now, some of you might say, I don't need to rewrite it, and that's okay, you don't have to, but some kids do need to rewrite it, right? So 1, take away 2. If I rewrite it, it becomes 1. Change subtraction to addition. My positive 2 becomes a negative 2. When you have numbers with different signs, you subtract them and take the sign of the number there's more of. Okay, let's take a look at 3, take away 5. So again, if at any point you need to fast forward through this video because you know these answers, do it. If you're okay following along with me, keep doing it. Starting with 3, can I take away 5? I'm almost there, right? But I got to bring in some 0 pairs. Did I bring in enough yet? I've got 4. Now I've got 5. So now I can go ahead and I can circle and I can take away. And what's left? I've got 2 negatives. Okay? So you might be saying, well, all I have to do is subtract these 2 numbers, right? And that's exactly right. So if you were thinking that, good job, okay? So if I rewrite it 3 minus 5, it becomes 3 plus a negative 5, which gives you that negative 2. So again, some kids just they think of it in a different way than you might think of it. It might be easier for them a different way. That's okay. We're all learning in different ways. Let's try 1, take away 4. All right, well, it's definitely not going to work like this. I don't have 4 I can take away. So I need to bring in some 0 pairs. Did I bring in enough? How about now? Did I bring in 1 too many? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I brought in 1 too many. And then sometimes that's going to happen when you're drawing, you get carried away. Can I take away 4 positives now? Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, take them away. What's left? Hopefully you're saying 3 negatives, because 4 minus 1 is 3. I'm going to rewrite that as 1 plus a negative 4, and that gives me negative 3. Let's take a look at our last one. 2, take away 5. Well, I do not have 5 to take away. Is that enough? Did I bring in enough 0 pairs? Nope. I need to bring in 1 more. Now I've got 5 to take away. So I've got my 1, take it away, 2, 3, 4, 5, take away. What's left? 1, 2, 3 negatives. So I've got negative 3. Again, you can rewrite if you need to. Becomes 2 plus a negative 5, which is that negative 3. All right, so again, at this point, you're going to go on to quizzes. You're going to try, it's 10 questions, very similar to these. So if you know this is going to be the quickest practice ever. If you're still unsure, this is a great way to practice and have the correct answer come up for you over and over again, okay? Let's take a look at our 2-word problems. So we've got 3 baby penguins and their father were sitting on an iceberg 1 meter above the surface. So you know how much I like to draw. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to draw here. So they're sitting 1 meter. So if here is 0 feet, they're 1 meter. Let's use the same labels. That would be good to do. 0 meters. And then it says the mother dove down 5 meters from the iceberg into the water to catch dinner. So we want to go 5 meters down. So what do you think that's going to look like? So the 3 baby penguins and their father are sitting on an iceberg 1 meter above the surface. So everyone's here together, father, mother, and all the kids. They're 1 meter above. And then they dove down 5 meters from the iceberg into the water to catch their dinner. So going down 5 meters. We want to know where are they going to end up. Right? So 1, starting at 1, diving down 5. So that would be 1, take away 5. It's kind of similar to what we've just been doing. What is 1 take away 5 going to give us? You could draw a model if you wanted to, or you could remember to add the opposite. 1 plus the opposite of a positive 5 is a negative 5. That's going to give us negative 4 meters. So it says where they end up. So it doesn't really have a question, but it's kind of assuming like where are they going to end up? The mother dove down 5 meters from the iceberg. Where are they going to end up? She ended up at negative 4. Okay. So we were kind of illustrating a situation from words into pictures and then putting a numeric sentence with it. Okay. Number 2, the Tunnel of Fear ride climbs straight up its peak 50 meters above the ground. So if here's our ground at 0, it climbs up 50 meters, and then it drops down 65 meters. We want to know what is the elevation of the tunnel relative to the ground. So if we're starting at 50, and then we're dropping, is that adding or subtracting? So hopefully in this case you realize it's subtracting. Again, you could draw your models if you wanted to. It's going to take you a while though, right? You could rewrite it as adding the opposite, which some of you are going to do. It's going to be your go-to method. Okay? Some of you might just know, well, I just don't have to subtract those two numbers, and that's totally fine. We all have different ways to look at it. So 65 minus 50, just to make sure we don't mess anything up, it is 15, and you have more negatives. So you're negative 15 feet below the ground, right? Or I shouldn't say negative, you're 15 feet below the ground. You could say negative 15 or meters, okay? All right, so the last little bit that you're gonna practice is a Google form. It's the practice that we're gonna do around the room, because now we've talked about 2 different kinds of subtraction. I'd like you to practice those 2. I kind of mixed, I did 4 of one kind, 4 of another, 4 of one kind, 4 of another. So get in there, give it a try. Today is just practice. We're just working together on getting this skill done correctly. So if there's something you have a question on, don't worry, we're going to spend more time on subtraction, as you can see from the worksheet behind me. All right, hope you're having a great day, and make sure you jump into the Google Meet if you have questions. Bye, everybody.